The single most powerful thing you can do for your team's performance costs you nothing but a few minutes a week. So it's not a retreat, not a new bonus structure, and definitely not a new hire. It's actually feedback given continuously in the moment and tied to real work. And almost nobody does it correctly. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why continuous feedback is the most underrated tool in business and exactly how Evolveflow was built to make it effortless for any business of any category and anywhere, basically. My name is Yunus, and I'm the founder of Evolveflow. So here's what's broken about the way most teams handle feedback today. Basically, timing. Timing is everything. Feedback given 9 months or 12 months after the fact is useless. It doesn't change behavior, it doesn't motivate, and it lands like a verdict on a closed case. So, the only feedback that actually changes performance is feedback given close to the moment the work happened. That's not an opinion, that's basically psychology. And most managers basically were never taught this. No business school teaches continuous feedback. The annual review is what most managers grew up working with. And so they replicate it, not because it works, but because it's the only model they've ever seen. And here's what basically people miss. Silence is not neutral. Every week, a manager doesn't give feedback. An employee fills that silence with their own story, usually the wrong one. My manager never says anything, so I must be fine. Or my manager never says anything, I must be doing badly. So silence is basically a performance killer. And the tools that exist today, they made things worse. Most performance management software that existed so far was built by engineers who never managed the team. They built annual review modules. They built clunky forms, rating scales that take 20 minutes to fill out, but they made the process but not necessarily less painful or easy or simple to use. Evolveflow is basically built differently, and I'm going to show you exactly why. Before I show you the product, though, I want you to understand one principle, because the product only makes sense when you get this. Feedback compounds. One piece of feedback changes one behavior, but 10 pieces of feedback over 3 months, they change a person's trajectory. Think of it like compound interest. Small, consistent deposits build something extraordinary over time. But one annual review is a single deposit. So continuous feedback is like more of a savings account in this example, and it works for every type of business. Whether you're a remote tech team, you're a retail floor, you're a field service crew, healthcare, staff, construction site, you name it, it doesn't matter. Every human being performs better when they know where they stand in real time. When feedback becomes normal, when it flows actually constantly in both directions without drama, it stops being a performance event and it becomes part of how the team works. Now you've basically changed the culture. Now you have what we call a performance culture. This is what separates businesses that scale from businesses that stall. And let me show you what this looks like inside Evolveflow. Every decision we made inside Evolveflow was made by people who've actually managed teams, not by people guessing what HR needs. You'll feel the difference immediately when you use it. And any manager, any employee, any moment, um, you know, is gonna feel right at home. I'm gonna send a feedback right now. Watch how long it takes me to do it. So basically, right now I'm on the feedback feed or wall, and here I can see a list of all my employees or all my direct reports. If you're an HR or a business owner, you'll see your entire business, but the system recognizes who's logged in and is going to show you exactly what you need to see. So these are different feedbacks that I've given before, but I'm going to create a new one. So I'll just click on new feedback. And here it says give feedback. Basically, you select the recipient. So the employee that you want to provide the feedback for, the observation. I'm going to select Brandon here as an example. I'm going to select an impact field. So impact fields, think of it as your competencies. And these are completely customizable. You can create from 2 to 8 different impact fields and customizable so that you can set them up for what matters most in your business. So maybe you're a sales focused business and you're probably going to have impact fields more focused on sales and marketing. Maybe you're a tech company and you're going to, you know, focus more on, I don't know, coding, development, innovation, things like that. But these are customizable and you have from 2 to 8. And they're really important because when you're providing feedback and you're adding a competency next to it, you're attaching that feedback to a certain, you know, a certain type of work that is done and a certain type of competency. In this example, I'm just going to say product reliability. Rating is universal. It's from 1 to 5. So I'll select 4, which is above average, exceeds expectation. And here you can just copy paste basically the observation. So whether you had the meeting with the employee or you have the observation, you can actually create it, type it. So you can say, great work on the marketing plan for next quarter, for example, right? Um, this has, increased our projection of sales. So you can type in basically your observation, solid feedback. You can do this. You can also use the AI assistant and paste it here. And what it does is that it generates a more structured feedback. You can keep doing, add more details. It's basically your canvas for creating a feedback. So you can continue the conversation with the AI until you're happy and the feedback represents exactly what you want to provide that employee. And when you're happy with the feedback here, just click apply, submit, and that's done. It took less than 2-3 minutes, and that feedback just became basically a permanent, part of the employee record. It lives on the platform. It's there for the employee to see, as we could see here, and you know, no, not it's not sitting in someone's inbox. It's actually sent by email too as a notification, but it's not buried in a spreadsheet. It's in the system, timestamped as you see, and tied to that person, permanent. So that's the foundation. Now, watch what builds on top of this system, and and here's the problem with the manager only feedback. The manager isn't in every room, so it isn't on every call, doesn't see every interaction that the employee has with other peers or other other teams. In Evolveflow, basically, employees can request feedback as well. So all of it flows in the same profile. Now you're not managing um, based on what you see, you're managing based on what the whole team sees. So it's not just one direction. It's actually, you can create a 360 by letting the employee also request feedback. So that is a completely different level of truth. And in Evolveflow, employees can request feedback, as I mentioned, themselves. So think about what that signals. An employee who asks for feedback has already decided they want to grow. So when you give them a tool that makes it basically easy, you're telling them that their growth is in their hands, not just the managers not just their managers. So that changes your culture. It changes the culture in the business. And it's not a policy, it's not a memo. Now, here's what nobody else does. And I'm going to click on this employee's avatar. But let me first show you how an employee can request feedback. Again, same window. And any employee can go to request feedback. And here, the request form. So the list that you see is basically every manager that works in the business. So the employee could have worked with anyone in the organization, and they will see them listed here. So every manager role in the platform, they can request a feedback. So I can, like, let's say myself, I'm gonna send a feedback to Julia. I worked with you on the marketing plan. I'd love to get your feedback. So I can send it as is, obviously, and it will get to Julia by on the platform by email. But I can also optimize it, for a better structure, simple. So it took my sentence and just made it optimized request. So, hi Julia, I'd appreciate your feedback on the marketing plan we worked on. specifically, I'm interested in your thought and overall strategy. You can obviously customize it. But if I'm happy, I'm going to say, I'm going to use this message. I'm going to send that feedback request. And that's done. If I go to my requests, I can see the requests that I made to different other managers that I worked with. So as you can see here, that's the feedback that I sent to Julia. But I'm going to show you something, and I'm pretty sure our competitors are going to be jealous. But we've been kind of developing this, and I believe we're the lead on this solution. So the AI that we use, and we built Evolveflow AI native, and what it means is that the architecture behind it is AI. So we're not putting something on top of it, but it's actually the core of our system. As you could see here, as I mentioned earlier, you see a list of you know, all the feedbacks that, my team received. And I can filter by employee. I can filter by department. If I, have different departments in my team, I can sort by date or rating, you know, in different system. We also have a search, and we've implemented this 3 years ago. So we have a search bar where you can actually, you know, type in a keyword, let's say which feedbacks were given about marketing. And this might be important for you to know that thing. But we've also kind of, you can search with anything. You can search by name. You can search even with impact fields, so products, reliability. Again, as I mentioned, competencies and impact fields are related to what matters most to the business. You can customize them on day one, and then you can measure your entire team's work against them. But here, I can also ask a question. I can say, which feedback, discusses marketing. And as you can see, as I'm typing, so basically the search bar hasn't found, like the keyword search didn't find any feedbacks related to that keyword. But if I hit enter, it becomes a prompt. So what the AI does behind it is that it searches through your entire data, everything, and it provides you instantly with an answer. So here it says, feedback analysis on the marketing and overall trends. Based on the available feedback data, here are the key insights. And it's going to give me exactly the answers to the question that I'm asking. So here, sky is the limit. If you're a business owner, if you're the HR leader or people's leader, you can ask who is struggling, for example, and it will surface that information. We are conversational as as workers, and then as as people, basically. And I believe that building a conversational tool like this where you can surface insights without having to you know go through the data, I think it's the most simple and easy way to get the work done. Now I'm going to show you what AI surfaces and how we built it. So let's say I want to look at an employee's performance, or let's say I'm a new manager and just took on a new team, and I would love to learn quickly about certain team members before I meet them. I'm going to click on John Doe, but let's say I'm going to click on John Doe. So the moment I click on John Doe, I get a dedicated window um, that basically surfaces everything about that specific employee. So he's a software engineer, that's his position. He's an active employee, so he's not inactive, like he's still part of the organization. It's going to automatically calculate the average rating uh, for him. So, on 5, and this is based on his feedbacks. He received 8 feedbacks so far. He's got 1 recognition. So recognition module also exists within the platform. Anyone can recognize anyone. It's not limited to who reports to whom. And he's got 2 one-on-ones that are recorded in the platform so far. Department, hire day, who's the manager. And so from there, I can click on here, which says Ask Evolveflow. And this is basically your AI, your HR copilot. Um, I have this module basically is connected to every data point within Evolveflow. So all the feedbacks that John Doe received, as long as he's been with the organization, all the projects, we've got objectives, goals, recognitions, performance reviews. Everything lives there. So if I ask any question, it's going to surface it purely for that specific employee. So I can say, give me performance summary. I'm meeting with John for the first time as his manager. So I'd like to learn more about his tenor and how I can help. So sky's the limit in what you can ask because AI has access to, as I mentioned, to every module within Evolveflow. And we've been the lead on this solution. We've been the lead on implementing such a tool and using AI in that way. um yeah, so it's going to tell me exactly what I need to learn. So his his strengths, his opportunities, his growth areas. So time management is going to say multiple feedbacks point to challenges with meeting deadlines and managing time effectively. I can even ask AI to dig in a specific question. If I can You can stop the AI if you feel that the answer is too long. You can ask it to make the answer in 3 steps. You can draft a growth plan, but give me 3 short points first. The most important thing here is that as I remember when I told you that feedback compounds and that data that lives here is, attached to every employee. So basically, this is kind of useful. So when you compound in feedbacks and when you're using the platform, as you're using the platform, everything compounds here, and it provides you all the insight that you need. And you can close that window. So this is the advantage, and the AI already has every piece of feedback this employee has received, every rating, every comment, and it has synthesized that data for you to ask any question. You know, so it's like how exactly I'm going to conduct my next one-on-one, for example, or I'm meeting with that employee and we want to work on a certain projects. So there's no preps, there's no guessing, there's no memory games. Every time you click on that avatar, it's current. It reflects everything that happened since the last time that you looked at it, and it goes farther. So every Monday morning, the AI Copilot comes to you. It doesn't wait for you to run a report. It tells you, here are the people who need your attention this week, or here's why, and here's what you can do about it. One click, manager response, logged, done. Most platforms charge extra for AI, and most tools, bolt kind of a few keywords and call it intelligence. Evolveflow's Copilot actually proactively tells you what to pay attention to before you even ask. That is what AI native actually means. And now I want to show you something this employee has been, for example, on Evolveflow for 90 days. Every piece of feedback, as I mentioned, and every rating, every AI insight, and peer observations, manager notes, everything is all of it is right there. And let me show you something quickly. So if we click on this is what we call Evolveflow AI. So it's basically your HR copilot. And this AI here has access to your entire team, not just that specific employee, but your entire team. If you're a business owner, it has access to every team member. The entire employee list. um, it recognizes who's logged in. So it's going to service insight based on the person that is logged in. If you're just an employee, you don't have any direct reports, it's going to surface things that matter to you. So, for example, your goals, your personal feedbacks that you received, your requests, your objectives. It's going to tell you, hey, this goal needs updating, or this project is off track, and it's going to surface things for you. And it's all agentic. So basically, it says, for example, for me here, it's going to say 5 goals need attention. I can view the goal, or I can schedule a one-on-one with the employee, or I can snooze it for later on. Um, it's going to also kind of suggest prompts for you. So it's going to say John Doe has at-risk goals with no recent one-on-ones. You can click on it and it's going to surface that information. You can say analyze my 122 feedback entries. But let's say John Doe has one goal. It's going to surface that information. So it's gonna, yes. So it says it found no recent one-on-one meetings with John Doe. Several of his goals, including refactoring user authentication module, are at risk and currently unlinked to any project. So, which may be contributing to the lack of recent follow ups. So, it's going to give you suggestions, which is recommended actions. Schedule a one on one with John Doe, ensure his goals are linked, use the upcoming one on one, and it's going to suggest, more. You can use it that way. You can also say, I'm going to give you an example where we've basically shipped this feature before any other solution out there. I'm going to say there is a developer or analyst analyst position, um, and um, and we have two candidates. Who would be the ideal candidate with facts between? And here, if I do ads, it's gonna give me a list of all the employees. I can just type. I'm gonna say Brandon in this example, between Brandon and I'm gonna say, for example, David. Okay. And if I hit enter, so it looks simple, but behind it, it's basically, again, synthesizing that data specifically to just those two employees that I've tagged. And if I hit enter, that's what it's going to do. It's going to analyze every data point that exists in the platform, and it's going to synthesize that information and give me the recommendation. So it gave me the facts that I asked it for, and it says the recommendation is Brandon Lee is the ideal candidate for the analyst position based on the feedbacks, based on the role, and consistent positive, ratings he received. So yeah, so that's basically only a portion of how you can use the HR Copilot, but it speaks to how compounding and continuous feedback is really vital. So you're not staring at the ceiling trying to remember what happened in March anymore. You're not guessing, uh, you know, what performance data exists for your employees. Um, this is actually real signal, pure signal, and it costs $6 per user per month. It's all inclusive. There's no add-ons, there's no implementation fees, and there's no HR jargon to block you. One of our clients had over 100 or maybe 200 people live on Evolveflow within 48 hours. If you want to see this in your business, free trial at app.evolveflow.com. There's no credit card required. Your team can be running continuous feedback by tomorrow morning. You just saw a continuous feedback builds over time. And this is a question that I want to leave you with. And I want you to really think about it. What do you want to do with all of that data when review season comes? This is really something to really think about. How do you turn these 3 months of feedback, AI insights, peer observations, manager notes into a performance review that's actually fair? So one that your employees trust, one that your managers can stand behind, and one that drives real change instead of just checking a box. So that's the third episode of our Performance Simplified, and I'm going to show you exactly how Evolveflow turns everything we built today into the most powerful data-driven performance review process any small and medium business has ever run. There's no guessing, there's no memory games, there's no blank forms, just signal. The data you've been building since day one finally actually put to work when you know uh, performance review cycle comes. So subscribe so you don't miss it. I'm Yunus again. This is Performance Simplified, modern performance management for growing teams without the complexity, without the cost. There's a free trial. You can try it. You can also schedule a demo for a one-on-one. I'll see you next week.